church? Oh yeah. You want me to show you who? You're laughing and scared. Alright, inside the church there are temptations. How many of you could tell me, guys, let me talk to guys. Okay, guys. How many of you guys would raise your hand if you have seen some girls who are temptations in church? Raise your hand. Well, you're really only. Others are enjoying. Don't point me out, Pastor. I like it. How many of you guys have seen temptations in church? They don't even point it out now. And then, because temptations will come in different ways. Number one, not deliberate. So let's talk about in your relationships and in the church. It doesn't mean that these girls or these boys or your other married people there, okay, are deliberately flirting or tempting you. It may not be. It may be an accident. They're just careless. They're just probably not taught properly. Some girls probably would wear, let's be practical, because this is true everywhere. Don't look at me badly. Are you going to give me as an example? Some girls wear very low necklines, very high blouses, very low pants, and very high skirts. You call them band-aids. So they wear band-aids. Very low neckline, band-aid. Band-aid. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
So, and they're not careful. My wife, she's been trained for 20-something years of us being together. If she ever has a possibility of wearing something that will show or reveal some stuff that may be tempting, more skin than what needs to be seen by man, she's got to always do this. And she doesn't bend this way. Ladies, get, okay, some men too, okay, some men. Get some ideas from this. If there's any possibility. And when you bend, don't bend here. Bend here. I can't do that. It's too hard. Exercise. And here. The problem is, as I said, some of them are not deliberate, some of them are deliberate. So instead of doing this, there are girls who really would literally wear that and do this. Josiah's running, and there goes my crush over there. The direction Josiah's running is towards my crush. Come on, Josiah! Come on! Come! If that's not enough, come! Oh, that's in the church! Yes! There's a reason, as I said. Adiming is very careful. She gets shocked when sometimes I go, you close in order of prayer, okay? Now my wife learned the lesson. She does not wait for me to assign somebody because she thinks I'm clueless regarding stuff. That I just assign, okay, you close in order of prayer, right? And the person's wearing a really, really, really tiny, mini skirt. So now she assigns people and then gives them this clothes protocol. Okay, you're going to close tomorrow and word of prayer. What are you going to wear? Okay, she'll make sure everything. Celebration team, you notice, man, the way they are dressed here is very, very decent. Did you notice? Yes. What are the qualities? I'll tell you honestly. What are the things that my wife tells the celebration team? High neckline, covering the behinds. For ladies, the man, nothing to show anymore. Okay. Ladies covered, low, okay? Because again, we've been through conferences when during praise and worship. Hallelujah. Beautiful ladies wearing sleeveless clothes. Right? For you it's okay. Sleeveless is okay. But praise and worship time, man, come on. Some of us, some of the men are demon possessed. An armpit would make them lust. Hallelujah. You get this dark clothes, and suddenly right in the middle of it is a white, shining glory. And guys are going, hallelujah! Woo! But these are common in the church, alright? So you got to be able to bear each other up, and it will take self-control on our part to make that happen. One of the examples that I could give to you regarding this, there are several passages that I'm going to give you. I'm just going to read one, but one of the best examples we could have about bearing each other, or bearing people, or whatever they may have, whatever flaws, whatever they may be, whatever treatment they receive, is God Himself. Romans 2:4 says that, 1 Peter 3:20, but let me read to you Exodus 34:6, Moses. And he said that he passed in front of Moses proclaiming, the Lord, the compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. God Himself. Check Romans 2:4, 1 Peter 3:20 tells you about how God really is a forbearing God. He bears with our weaknesses and flaws. And guys, how many of us have messed up before God over and over, and praise God, He hasn't given up on you and me. He loves you still. My wife used to sing a song that I pray, which would have sang it today. I think Tony has sang it, and Belle, and Jay. I don't know. Many people have sang it already. It's entitled Stubborn Love. It's your stubborn love that never lets go of me. I don't understand how you could stay. Precious love, isn't it? Perfect love. Embracing the worst in me. Oh, how I long for your stubborn love. Because that's what God does. He bears with you and me, despite all our flaws. And of course, we don't forget His Son, Jesus Christ. 2 Corinthians 10 says, by the humility and gentleness of Christ, I appeal to you, and go on and go on. But it's humility and gentleness of Christ. We're celebrating, this is the last Sunday before Christmas, and we're celebrating the Christmas season. The very story of Christmas is not void of the fact that despite the fact, do you know in Philippians chapter 2, the context of that is that God was not just sending His Son. The Son was willing to volunteer. God's heart goes, Son, go. The Son's heart goes, I'll go. That's the willingness. And that was in His God status, where Jesus knew what we were going to do to Him. Remember I told you about humility and teachability and patience and all those things? Talk about people who will do you wrong. Talk about people who will insult you. Talk about people who will mock you. Talk about people who will hurt you. Talk about people who will cause you suffering. Talk about people who will cause you pain. Talk about people who will be hostile towards you or hostile towards you. All of these were experienced by Jesus, but even before we experienced that, He knew that people were going to do that to Him, but He still bore this. And He says, I'm willing. He knew how messed up my life was going to be. If I testify to you about my life, it's a messed up life. And that's only one. Multiplied by billions of people who have lived right now, who are living right now. I know those who have lived before, I don't know how many billions of people have lived before. But altogether, Jesus was going to bear not just one person's sin, flaws, weaknesses, and mess-ups. He was going to bear everybody's. He was going to bear the weight of the world. But Jesus said, I'll go. I'll go. I will bear with them. I will bear them. It's a good example. You got another example in the Old Testament, Genesis 43, 8 and 9. It's about Judah speaking of bearing the blame for their request to take Benjamin with them. Read the story about it. Okay, and then of course, the order of the priesthood in the Old Testament. One example is Aaron bearing the guilt of the people as well, found in Exodus 20, 37 to 38. And we got to really do this, guys, because honestly speaking, in the church or in every relationship you have, there will be people who have really, really bad attitudes. You'll meet them. And I'm sorry to say this, there will be Christians who have really, really stinky attitudes. And it feels like sometimes you feel, isn't that unjust? Isn't that bad? Who tells you, who gives them the right to treat us this way? Who gives them the right to have that kind of bad attitude? When you see a person in the church or in your relationship, one way you could probably be patient with them is apply this thing that's booming in my heart and in my head while I was making this message, is this preacher's words. She says it over and over on television. She goes, when people hurt you, always remember, hurting people hurt. I want you to say this with me. Hurting people hurt. Okay? Or hurting people hurt people. This is a better way, this is actually the right way of saying it. Hurting people hurt people. Say it again. Hurting people hurt people. Say it again. Hurting people hurt people. That means to say, if people are hurting you, just think inside of you that they're hurting so much inside that they're hurting you. So honestly speaking, they're the ones who are really hurt. They're not victimizing you. They are victims of their circumstances. They are bound by their emotional reactions, and they are bound by their situations that they're just reacting to it. They almost don't have, quote-unquote, a choice. It's just, they don't know probably. They may know Christ, but they just don't know how to handle situations yet. And they probably have not yet yielded themselves to God. There are people who will have bad attitudes. There are people who are like stars. They feel like they are stars. They treat you like they're the superstars. Only in my opinion. And by acting like they're superstars, that the world revolves around them, that they're the centers of the universe, there are people like that. They will treat you as nobodies. Your opinions don't count. What you have to say doesn't count. They will give a lot of opinions. They will listen to other people. But the moment you talk, they start talking about somebody else. And they just don't pay attention to you. There will be people like that. They will try you. But the Bible is telling you and me just to bear with each other. Do you think it's easy? How many of you think bearing with each other is easy? Do you think it's hard?
Yes.
But in fact, it's impossible. It's impossible. There's a reason why for you to be able to bear each other, the first thing you've got to have. You may hear this message, but it'll be impossible for us to do. Because number one, many of us were naturally impatient anyway. Can you just be honest with me? How many of you here are generally impatient to start with? You know, 50% of the church who are generally impatient. I'm raising my hand because I'm probably the most impatient. One of the most impatient people there is me, or was me. I was way, way more impatient than what I am right now. Okay? And some of us who did not raise our hands would admit to the fact that even if we are not generally impatient people, our patience have limits. There comes a point in time where we say a camel, it's a straw that breaks the camel's back. Somehow you get to the brim. Okay? They just keep on adding and piling up, and it gets to the brim, and then you just explode. Remember I said that last Sunday?